Most people think control is loud, shouting, threats, power plays. But if you've ever started explaining yourself when no one asked, you've already been controlled. Real control doesn't raise its voice. It stays calm. It stays polite. It happens while you're smiling, while you still believe you're choosing freely. And that's what makes it dangerous, because by the time you notice what's happening, you're already adjusting your behavior. You're explaining more. You're hesitating. You're thinking twice before speaking. Not because someone forced you to, but because something inside you learned to adapt. Today, I'm breaking down 10 silent psychology tactics that control people without them realizing it. No movie villains, no exaggerated manipulation, just everyday experiences you've already lived through, but never named. And once you name them, they stop working. First, silence. Silence is deeply uncomfortable for the human brain. When someone suddenly stops responding, your mind panics quietly. You replay conversations. You analyze tone. You assume you did something wrong. That's the power shift. The person who stays silent controls the pace. The person who rushes to explain gives it away. Here's the uncomfortable part. Silence only works on people who care. If you didn't care, you wouldn't explain. And the more intelligent you are, the faster you fall into it. Because you believe clarity will fix what power created. Confident people are rarely in a hurry to justify themselves. That's not arrogance. That's psychological pressure. Second, mirroring. Your brain trusts what feels familiar. When someone subtly matches your tone, posture, or energy, your nervous system relaxes. You feel understood, even if nothing meaningful was said. Salespeople do this. Charismatic leaders do this. And people who always seem to get their way do this too. It feels natural. That's why it works. Third, controlled validation. This one is dangerous. Praise, then distance, approval, then withdrawal. Your brain doesn't get addicted to constant validation. It gets addicted to inconsistent validation. Uncertainty creates obsession. You don't chase what's always available. You chase what might disappear. That's why people stay attached longer than they should, even when they know better. Fourth, small favors. When someone asks you for something small, your brain wants to stay consistent. So later, when they ask for something bigger, you say yes. Not because you chose to, but because your identity doesn't like contradiction. You tell yourself you're just being helpful. Psychology calls this commitment bias. Fifth, framed choices. Do you want option A or option B? Sounds fair, feels respectful. But notice what's missing. Option C. Walking away. Not choosing at all. When choices are framed, the outcome is often decided before you answer. Sixth, confidence without explanation. The human brain follows certainty more than logic. Someone who speaks calmly without over-explaining sounds powerful, even when they're wrong. Meanwhile, the person explaining everything sounds unsure, even when they're right. That's why confidence persuades, and justification weakens. Seventh, emotional contrast. Warm, then distant. Friendly, then neutral. Your brain hates imbalance, so it works overtime trying to restore it. And the more emotional effort you invest, the harder it becomes to leave. That's how people stay in situations they already know aren't good for them. Eighth, naming your emotions for you. You're overthinking. You're just stressed. You're being emotional. When someone labels your internal state, they quietly take control of the narrative. And once your emotions are defined by someone else, your reactions become easier to guide. Ninth, time pressure. Decide now. Last chance. Don't overthink it. Under pressure, the brain chooses comfort over logic. That's why rushed decisions usually benefit the person creating urgency, not the person making the choice. And finally, making you feel understood. This is the most powerful one. When someone listens just enough, reflects your words, and says, "I get you," your defenses drop. You open up. you trust, and influence becomes effortless. Now, here's the part that actually matters. Knowing these tactics doesn't mean you use them. It means you see them. Awareness breaks control. The moment you notice yourself explaining, chasing, shrinking, or adjusting, pause. Control doesn't start when someone dominates you. It starts when you begin managing yourself for their comfort. Ask yourself one question. Is this choice coming from me or from pressure I never questioned? Because real power isn't controlling others. It's recognizing when someone is trying to control you and choosing not to play.